Entertainah talking sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Before I get started on the video, just want to let everybody know I will be live tonight with Bad Dog Sports for the Talk of Giants. And in addition to that, I'll be live Saturday, having some of you guys come on the channel. Didn't do that last week. And I also will, of course, be live streaming the game on this channel this week. So hopefully I see some of you guys there for that. But in this video, I'm going to talk about the hot story of the day that came out from Zach Rosenblatt of NJ.com, talking about inside sources telling him that the New York Giants plan to stick with Daniel Jones, and we'll have to wait and see how all this plays out. Of course, Daniel Jones so far is just into his second year in which he's halfway through the season, and I've talked about numerous times some of the things that he's had to overcome this offseason, but we're 8 games through, and so far this year, it is undeniable, even from the biggest Daniel Jones fan, that Daniel Jones has certainly regressed, and the fan base is starting to turn on him. If you look at last year, Daniel Jones had what many, if you just look at the stat sheet, had a very strong rookie season in which he threw 24 touchdowns in just 12 starts and 12 interceptions with a QB rating of 88. One thing that you expect from a second-year quarterback, or at least hope to happen, is progression. And so far this year, Daniel Jones has regressed in every major statistical category. He's seen his QB rating dip from 88 to 74. His touchdowns, he only has 7 through 8 starts. He's on pace for less than 1 a game. Last year, he had 2 per start with 24. His interceptions, he already has 9 in 7 starts. Last year, he had 12. The only place that you could really say he's gotten better is the fumbling department, and Daniel Jones continues to find ways to lose football games for the New York Giants. Not that I'm putting the full blame on him in any one of these individual games. More games, some games he's more responsible than others, just like any other player on this football team. But the fact of the matter is this: Daniel Jones, throughout his career up to this point, has committed 34 turnovers through 20 starts, which is, I think, the worst in league history, and if it's not, it's right up there. And he has 4 career wins, 3 of which have come against Washington, 1 of which came against Tampa Bay with 3 missed field goals. So the fan base is certainly up in air about Daniel Jones. And in the way that the NFL is nowadays, people expect instant results, and they expect you to move on from the quarterback if you can't get it going sooner than later. The New York Giants, historically, do not operate that way. And people always go back to Eli Manning, and Eli Manning, of course, struggled early on in his career. But the team was winning, and they were able to overcome the growing pains. And hopefully, if the Giants decide to stick with Daniel Jones, that's all this is. And in my opinion, I'm going to say what I've said from the start. I'm going to give Daniel Jones the full year to evaluate him. So far through 8 games, he's regressed. He's gotten worse. We've seen inconsistencies. We've seen some great drives, and we've seen some boneheaded decisions, especially last week. And if he continues to make those boneheaded decisions, and the Giants are picking at the top of the draft, well, then in my opinion, we have to at least think hard about potentially bringing in a quarterback. But he's still got 8 games to improve, and hopefully he does. I think the New York Giants right now believe in their coaching staff. They believe that they're going to get Daniel Jones on the right foot. And as a fan, I have to hope that that happens. We're going to have to wait and see how it all plays out. But I wanted to jump into some of the quotes about what Rosenblatt had to say about Daniel Jones. Here's the first one. Even if the Giants end up with the number 1 or number 2 overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, do not expect to hear the name Trevor Lawrence or the name of Justin Fields called. It's just not going to happen, at least according to Zach Rosenblatt of NJ Advanced Media. Rosenblatt reports that the Giants do not view Jones as an issue and still believe he is their long-term answer at quarterback. Then later, went into a couple of quotes. The Giants still believe Jones can fill the Eli Manning-sized hole as their franchise quarterback. There are 8 games left to evaluate if he is that guy. After a roller coaster 21 games to start his career, the Giants are still committed to Jones as their quarterback beyond 2020. Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields be damned. They love him. They're pleased with Daniel there internally. A league source familiar with Giants thinking told NJ Advanced Media, speaking on the condition, he's not going anywhere. So there you go. I mean, take it for what you will, and that is just somebody that reports for NJ Advanced Media with Zach Rosenblatt, but according to him, and it's sources from within the New York Giants organization, the New York Giants do not plan to move on from Daniel Jones at the end of the year. And if you asked me at the beginning of the year, I would say you're absolutely crazy for even bringing that up as a possibility. He had a strong rookie campaign, and I don't want to get rid of a guy that I'm paying $9 or $10 million that has shown promise. But in the season in which I thought he'd struggle to start the year, let's preface it by saying that I thought he would definitely struggle to start the year with all the challenges he had to face. Tough defenses, shortened preseason, so on and so forth. But at this point, we're halfway through the year, and Daniel Jones needs to improve significantly. And if I'm going to be a man of my word, I always said it. I'm going to give this team till the second half of the season, and I expect to see significant progress. Well, so far this year, I'm starting to see significant progress over the last 2 or 3 weeks from a lot of areas on this football team, whether it be the offensive line, whether it be the defense, but I have not seen it with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, like I said, has shown spurts. It is Daniel's time now to start to shine, and if he does not start to turn the corner, well, I don't care what the inside sources say. The New York Giants have to think about potentially moving on. Do I think he could do it? Absolutely. I think he's got the tools. I think Daniel Jones' biggest problem so far this year has been that he's tried to play hero ball. I think he needs to play within his game, and he can't force things when they're not there. Take the punt. A lot of fans used to complain that Eli Manning checked the ball down too much. And yeah, sure, he did. Maybe he should have taken a couple extra shots here and there. But Eli Manning, knew the limitations of the overall offense. He knew that they couldn't block. He knew he didn't have time to throw, and he hit the open receiver when he was there. I need to see more of that from Daniel Jones. I need to see better reads, in my opinion, and I need to see him stop forcing the ball into tight situations and making boneheaded plays. It seems like every time he makes an interception, it comes at the worst possible times. And I know he's young, and I know he can improve. And I'm going to stick behind Daniel Jones as long as he's wearing that New York Giants uniform. But I'm also not going to be a Daniel Jones apologist. He's got a lot of things to work on. We've got 8 games to go, and there's certainly 3 popular quarterback prospects that people are talking about at the top of the draft. Now, if the Giants stick with Dave Gettleman, and I don't think that's a foregone conclusion that they're moving on. I think the Giants are going to give them the final 8 games. You're starting to see people are saying this team is improving. What did Mara say at the beginning of the year? If they see improvement and think that they could, progress significantly going into next year, they will stick with him. Well, I think the Giants are going to evaluate the last 8 games, not just for Gettleman, but for Daniel Jones, and see where the team is after that. If Gettleman stays, so does Jones. If the Giants make the GM shift, that opens up a world of possibilities. And there is no way, I don't care how they feel from within the organization, if you bring in an outside GM, he may have a completely different mindset. And if you force that GM to stick with a quarterback, well, we've seen what that's done in the past. At least we assume that the Giants forced Dave Gettleman to stick with Eli Manning, and it kind of halted the rebuilding process. As much as I love Eli Manning, the New York Giants should have started to accelerate the process a year earlier, and we would be further advanced in the rebuild process at this time. So you cannot force the quarterback on a new GM. If the Giants are sticking with Jones, there's a good possibility that Gettleman stays or they hire from within. But we'll have to wait and see how all that plays out. I still think that I would lean that we'll probably stick with Jones, especially if he plays better over these last 8 games. But I definitely don't think it's a foregone conclusion. And I'm saying that based off the fact that I don't think the Giants are going to be picking first overall. And if they don't feel that Justin Fields is a generational talent, which maybe they will, I think the New York Giants stick what they got and they give him an extra year, at least according to things that I've read and knowing the way that the New York Giants operate. They gave Eli Manning an opportunity every step of the way when people were saying to bench him. I know that they were winning, and it's a completely different situation, and it's a completely different league at this point in time. And this isn't even giving you guys my opinion. This is what I think will happen. My opinion is I need to see the last 8 games before I can come to a final conclusion. But I'm starting to have some doubts into whether or not Daniel Jones could be a franchise quarterback. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.